Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking movies, TV, comics, and more. Join in the conversation on our social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go. Welcome back for another edition of the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. What is going on, everybody? Thank you for joining us this week. My name is Ken M. Joining me in studio, as always, you know him. He's the co-host. His name is Padawan J.
Hello, hello, hello.
Folks, we have a lot to talk about in the land of movies, TV, comics, and more, so definitely join in the conversation. You can find our social media links on OchoDuroParlayHour.com, and always remember to use the hashtag ODPH, because we have a lot to break down this week.
Yeah.
Kicking off this week's entertainment edition of the ODPH, we are recapping one of our favorite shows, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Dem agents.
Them agents are riding off into the sunset in a big way.
Yeah.
It's been slowly picking up steam, but past couple weeks, they've really kicked off kind of where they should be in the saga. Because usually the first episode, we get a little teaser what's going on, and this one, we know they're doing a lot of time traveling.
Oh, yeah.
We've been discussing it a lot. Kind of have mixed feelings on it, but I think it's been a fresh take for it. But obviously, when you start dancing around in time, bad things happen.
Yeah, usually nothing good.
Nothing good at all. So we are going to be breaking down what the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents have been up to this past week's episode. So if you haven't seen the episode, pause. We give you fair warning because we're going to start jumping into spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Pad, what did you think?
I thought it was an okay episode. You know, not exactly a home run smash hit out of the park, but it was very enjoyable. Interested to see where they go next week.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see where they're planning on going, because at this point, they're slowly working their way back to our current timeline. Mm-hmm. They've been jumping around from the 1930s to the 1950s to most recently they were in the 1970s and are still working their way towards the 80s until they get back to, we're presuming, Avengers Endgame time frame. Mm-hmm. That's the early assumption we have with this. But this past week's episode, they're still in 1976, and a lot has happened that is their fault. Yeah. You can't sugarcoat it.
No.
This is all on them. I understand they're trying to stop the Chronicoms from taking over and slowly but surely wiping away the MCU as we know it.
But they're kind of acting like bulls in a china shop.
Yeah, they are just making miscue after miscue after miscue. Notably, they have allowed a time anomaly by the name of Nathaniel Malik to run crazy, because now where he originally wasn't in the timeline, he is. Yeah. And has tried to take Daisy's powers.
Yeah, and you know, like we said, not supposed to be there, but he's still there, and everything's just a mess.
Everything is absolutely a mess, which it is crazy to see at this point, but a lot has happened from the previous week that it finally really started picking up, and this is where we see that the team is in a little bit disarray. So kicking off with this, where do we go, Pat?
It picks up pretty much right where we left off the last episode, where Mac made the decision to save it, not take out the lighthouse and stop Project Insight in the one way, but they still stopped Project Insight, and he saved his parents, and now they got to deal with the ramifications because the Zephyr's kind of like in open waters.
It's in open waters, and obviously S.H.I.E.L.D. at this time does not know that Mac and company are agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I'll say they don't know squat about them.
No, so at this point, the Lighthouse is retaliating and start firing missiles at the Zephyr, and they damage the ship. More importantly, they damage the time drive. So this is going to cause nothing but problems for those agents, because now they have to try fixing it, and also where are they going to go from here, and trying to really figure out, okay, we're stuck here. We got to be a step ahead of the Chronicoms. We're not. And it's also getting slowly figured out that Simmons is having issues.
Right, and then one of the other issues they got is they're barely in control of where they go now.
Yes.
And then you factor in the time drive is damaged. They're really not in control now.
Yeah, so with that all going on, Simmons has been the linchpin to make sure everybody is running smoothly throughout the timeline, because she has the knowledge of where, from Fritz, from retaining everything that's going on with the time travel that he's gone through, and just the whole setup has been, it's working out of place with Fitz, because we haven't seen him the entire season.
Correct.
So obviously he's had something set up, but once it's discovered that Simmons is having issues with the communication, it's just all spiraling out of control. And this is where you start getting into the problem they're going to have this entire season.
Right.
Because if they're not a step ahead, they're 2 steps behind, and the Chronicoms have already shown they are footsteps ahead. I mean, plural for a reason. Because every time S.H.I.E.L.D. makes a move, they're behind the 8-ball completely.
In the worst way possible.
Right. Because due to the Chronicoms being so much a step ahead, that's where Nathaniel Malick really got to step up and kind of figure out, okay, there's Inhumans.
Right.
And I'm not sure at this point if he knows they're Inhumans yet.
I don't think so. I think he because at one point in the episode, doesn't he say like serum or something like that?
Yeah, he almost refers it back to the super soldier serum.
Right. So there, he doesn't know Inhumans are a thing. I think to him it's just hey, you were experimented on, kind of how they did with Steve Rogers and Captain America and all the other instances in the Marvel timeline.
Yeah. So at this point, this is where he has Daisy captured and is starting to do the experiments to siphon the powers. Which is never good because obviously we've gone through the lineage of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, yeah.
When everybody had their powers developed through the Terrigen Mist, it took out some characters.
Yep.
It radically transformed other characters.
Oh, yeah.
It's not good.
No.
It's never good. And when Malick tries to take the powers from Daisy, it's too much. And what he doesn't realize, and something that Daisy knows, is every time that he's using the earthquake powers, his bones break.
Yep.
And this is something that he's not used to, and it obviously has bad ramifications because the building is crumbling around him due to this.
A little bit.
So with that being said, it's almost a catch-22 for him because what he's just trying to do is take Hydra to the next level, and it's not really happening.
No.
And for Daisy and company, this is going to be a problem going on because this is the problem they made, like we said at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, no, they got nobody to blame but themselves.
No, they don't. So meanwhile, at this time, too, Souza is working his way to free Daisy and does pull off a dramatic escape so they get to the Zephyr.
Yep.
At the same point, Simmons is trying to get repaired what is going on with her.
Yeah, we finally figure out what the heck's going on there.
And what is it?
Her memory's all messed up because of the events of what happened in the time drive and getting thrown backwards in time. She knows how to fix it, but she can't remember how. So she's got Enoch putting a device in her head to try and put her brain back together. At least that's how it seemed to me.
Yeah, that was how it looked on TV. Because as we're watching, Enoch is sitting there trying to do work, and Deke, yet again.
Yeah.
How many times do we got to say, between him and Daisy, is the time jump completely warped their heads?
Probably.
And the sense of logic and calmness is out the window?
Yeah.
Because while Enoch is working on Simmons, Deke immediately thinks he's a Chronicom as part of the group that's trying to sabotage S.H.I.E.L.D. And ruins the operation that's trying to fix Simmons.
Yeah.
Until it's broken down what is going on. And it's like Deke this entire season has been flying off the handle.
Right.
And I mean, I get it, and I think it's a nice change of pace for his character. I mean, Jeff Ward has really stepped his game up with us and kind of shown that Deke is just not the goofy, sidekick that is completely fish out of water.
No.
He's actually trying to prove his worth as a member of the team. And obviously him playing off Joel Sofer's Enoch was a great back and forth because Enoch does never break character. He's always just robotic as it is because he is one. And when he's trying to explain what's going on, Deke, hasn't really figured out, like, maybe I should pull it back a little bit. Even though it's been proven that Enoch is working with the team, he's just not buying it, which it's kind of a weird back and forth. But as we've gone through the lineage of the show this season, Deke's the one who shot the original Malick. Yeah. Deke's the one that almost killed him way back when in time.
Well, so yeah, Deke tells Mac he shot Malick, and Mac is real thrilled about that.
Yeah. Well, because they know that anytime that you're altering time, it is forcing everything to change. The slightest detail out of place is causing a ripple effect that they can't even fathom. It's wild to think it, but it is what happens with time travel. It always does.
Yeah.
And especially for where Marvel is, and I mean, granted, you could say what you will, that everything got reset with Endgame.
Yeah.
We still don't know where this show is currently with that timeline. So you can't say that, okay, it's been completely reset and not. It's just something that we haven't really seen.
Right.
So that's going to be another plot line moving forward. And especially Deke needs to really focus on the mission at hand instead of just going off on his own. I mean, this is what happened with Daisy when she decided to do it.
Right.
And look what happened. Now she's going to be powerless as it appears, but we're not sure the extent of that. I mean, a lot of things could happen with that. But I digress. Meanwhile, you still have May and Coulson still trying to work together with all their issues going on.
Work together while simultaneously trying to stay undercover.
Yes, which one thing that I will say with May's new powers, she is getting a step ahead with catching up to the Chronicoms.
I'd say so.
And how does she do this, Pat?
Whenever she touches them, she can't, because her power is she can feel the person's feelings. When she touches a Chronicom, she senses nothing.
Right. So this is a power that's definitely going to help them down the road. Which, when she first got I always reverted back to like when Rogue and had it where she could absorb. I always reverted to that, but this one is something that can definitely help out because with the Chronicoms face stealing and body stealing, however you want to define it, this is going to be something that is going to help S.H.I.E.L.D. catch up and maybe stop them ultimately. Yeah. So May's growth with her powers is going to be something to watch. And obviously, her and Coulson figuring out where they are now. I mean, Coulson's an LMD. May is devoid of all emotion, too, and because she's back from the dead. Comics, folks. Reasons. Yeah. So how they're working together, you're slowly starting to see them start to trust each other a little bit and work together. Because as they're escaping, they do find a way to get General Rick Stoner freed, who, I mean, what can we say about Patrick Warburton that hasn't been said before?
He's awesome.
He's amazing on the show. I mean, he's always the one that he has the deep voice, and you know him when you see him on screen.
Or you hear the voice.
Yep. And so at this point, like I say, I can keep going on and on about him, so I can focus back on the show. This point, Coulson and May wind up rescuing him, and they find the Chronicom ship. Yep. So once they get to the ship, it's kind of a weird connection Coulson can adapt with the Chronicom ship because he winds up having a talk with Sybil, who is, I want to say, the Chronicom's main leader at this point.
Yeah, it reminded me a little bit of the Supreme Intelligence from Captain Marvel, at least into like a, the overall overarching like main person.
Yeah, and it's kind of an interesting debate that Coulson has with Sybil, and Coulson winds up figuring out their plan. Well, what Sybil is telling him about their plan, Coulson's kind of deciding a little bit, okay, what do we do next? And what does he try to do? He blows the ship up and he's still on it. Yeah. Which I understand Coulson is an LMD and such.
It's like initial shock factor, but then you go, oh, wait, LMD.
Yeah. So it kind of takes a little bit away because you almost have to wonder, Coulson understands he's a robot, but how many times is he going to get put back together?
Probably as many as he needs to.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be an interesting factor going forward, too. There's so much they were planting little seeds here that I have to say. Like the dynamic with what's going on with Simmons, they really kind of focused in on a little bit more just to follow up. They did the power transfer from Daisy, so that could be something as well. Yeah. Deke flying off the handle again. Yeah. And now with Coulson, with the ship blowing up and he's going to come back unscathed, you have to figure, are they going to explain how invulnerable he is as an LMD? Maybe. They have to. I don't see how they can let it slide. It's kind of a very noticeable plot hole. Because if he's on board a ship and it blows up, how do you just say that other than you go, reasons? Meanwhile, Mac and company find out that the whole setup that they've been working on about saving Mac's parents and getting them to safety, unfortunately, was all for nothing.
Yeah, they're impersonated by Chronicoms.
Yeah, this was probably the most emotional part of the episode, I will say. Yeah. I definitely was sitting there. It was a great swerve that they did, but Henry Simmons definitely acted it up, and you could definitely tell all the emotions going through that. He finds out that his parents, who he thought he was seeing for the first time in this new timeline as he's aged and been older, that they were never there in the entire point. They were taken over by Chronicoms. Yep. And Mac does what anybody would do in that situation.
Tosses him out the plane.
Flies him right off the ship. So it's little crazy how they wind up doing this, but it's a great scene that he's just accepting that, hey, they're not there, because once it's tipped off to him that they're Chronicoms, and you could tell by the arms, like Yo-Yo picked that up too, that it was something with the arms that wound up being the tell card. Yeah. Once that got figured out, that really hit home with the episode. Because like I said, this episode overall was good. Yeah. Not going to say it wasn't, but it seemed like they were setting up little bits in here in there for the story going forward. Like, it was almost like a setup episode.
Yeah, no, I got the same sense, too.
Yeah, so, I mean, it was great on how they did it, but the cliffhanger, though, was very interesting.
Yeah.
Because now they're in 1982.
Yep.
Yet again, another time jump.
Yep.
Mac steps out to get a moment for himself.
Right.
And Deke is sent to go check on him. And then while they're off the ship takes off.
Yep, because again, the time device, after I'm blanking on the name of it, is still broken.
Yeah, once the time drive is still not up and running and to where they need to rely on it, they could be bouncing around the multiverse or
The timeline.
The timeline, the multiverse. I mean, it's comics, it blends. They're going to be flying around so much that you have to figure out, okay, this is going to add another dynamic to the show that they don't already need.
Yeah.
But this is going to be an interesting story for Deke and Mac moving forward for this coming episode.
Which is titled The Totally Excellent Adventures of Mac and the D.
Yes, which if you saw the trailer for this episode, it's completely 1980s movie style, everything.
Yeah.
It's going to be over the top. It's going to be a fun episode.
Oh, I'm sure it will be.
I'm not expecting a lot from this episode, to be honest with you. I could be happily surprised.
Yeah.
But I think this one's just going to be a nice little throw to the fans just to have some fun. Like, this is probably going to look more like a Legends of Tomorrow episode.
Probably.
Than an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. one. I'm going on an early prediction with this.
Probably.
It's going to be a fun one to watch. But like I say, for how they've been really speeding up the past couple episodes, to have a little break in the action, so to speak, where they normally would have a mid-season break. I think this is going to be a fun episode to catch up on because there's, like I say, there's so much with what's going on with Simmons, which they touched upon. But you notice how they didn't really focus a lot of time on that? Mm-hmm. No pun intended.
I think that's going to be coming up in a future episode just because I'm looking at the Wikipedia page for this season. Episode 9 is titled As I Have Always Been, written by Drew Z. Greenberg, directed by Elizabeth Henstridge,
who plays Gemma Simmons.
Mm-hmm. I think that's where we're going to get a lot of maybe closure and end of plot points for what's going on with her this season.
Well, they're going to definitely need to do something because that time or that moment in the show, I know they focused a little bit on. They didn't go into real detail, but if she is the one that's supposed to be the captain of the ship, and let's face it, she's the one that's getting the information via Fitz and how they're pulling that off. She needs to be at 100% if they have any chance to beat the Chronicoms. She isn't. And if the ship's time drive is broken and just taking off randomly, how are they supposed to keep up with the Chronicoms? It's another plot hole that they need to figure out. Mm-hmm. Plus, whatever's going to happen with Daisy now, that if she is powerless or has them come back to the full strength, because that's the one thing we don't know.
No, we don't.
I just have a vibe about that no pun intended, that he's not going to be at 100%, and I think this is going to be where Malik winds up coming into the future, and dare I say, does he turn into a villain per se? Does he turn into Graviton instead? Let me throw that out there to you, ODPH audience, ODPH Society. I need to remember to say that. But this episode, though, overall, had a lot of great points to it. Mm-hmm. Probably the strongest moments, though, were late in the show. I will say that, when Mac finds out about his parents. Right. That's the only thing that really stuck out and hit home with this episode.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Everything else about this episode was pretty on point, too. But like I say, it was just a lot more tying up the loose ends of the 70s, but also creating enough questions that, okay, Coulson knows what's going on, but if he was on the ship and it blew up, what's the damage that's going to happen to him? Is he going to start developing like a Wolverine-type mentality where I can go in anywhere and I'm not going to feel anything?
It's quite possible.
I mean, I'm not saying he's going to start doing that and start popping out claws and start saying he's the best at what he does.
Yeah.
But it's going to be an interesting factor that is he going to think that he's so invulnerable and invincible that he can just do whatever he wants?
Maybe.
It's questions like this that we're going to have to answer, and I'm sure the show is going to do that moving forward. So definitely overall final thoughts, Pat?
Good episode. Not the best in the world, but it's still very enjoyable. Can't wait to see where they go next week in the total 80s trip that it's going to be. If you're a fan of 80s movies, I get the feeling you're going to love it.
Absolutely. Let us know what you think, ODPH Society. Hit us up on those hashtags. Hashtag ODPH. Let us know what you thought about this past episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and where do you think the team is going moving forward. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Don't touch that dial.
Don't change that station.
Because Just for a minute, we're here, invading your current universe and bringing you to ours.
The Tangent Versus, to probe your mind.
I'm Kelvin.
I'm the Chris.
And we're two weirdos, nerds, geeks who discuss and obsess over ours and your favorite TV shows, movies, and other parts of geek nerd culture.
So, how about you give us a listen and come with us down the rabbit hole?
Take the red pill and see how dark and twisted things may
or may not get.
Available on all major podcast providers.
We now return you to your regularly scheduled podcast. Good night.
Hi, this is Tyler from Second Suitor, and you're listening to the ODPH podcast. I want you to get it. I want you to understand. I'm doing the best I can, but not as good as I want to be. I just want to get it. I just want to comprehend that I have to make amends with the money.
Coming back for the second segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast, and I gotta talk some Stargirl.
Okay.
CW's breakout hit, and note how I said that, the CW's, because it has been announced.
Yep.
It has been renewed for season 2, which is awesome, but it's going to be leaving the DC universe.
Yep.
So, Pat, let me ask you this. Jumping into that story before we break down the episode, what is your thoughts about them going to CW exclusively?
Not entirely surprising, just because you look at the way things have been going. Doom Patrol Season 2 is airing on both DC Universe and HBO Max as it comes out. There have been stories, including an email from HBO Max themselves, that said they're going to be adding the Harley Quinn animated series to HBO Max very soon. You look at Swamp Thing is going to be re-aired in however many episodes it had.
10, I believe.
On CW. And then, obviously with Stargirl. So at this point, all the DC Universe has left is Titans and Young Justice. To me, it kind of says writing's on the wall. They're going to be gone sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think that is very clear and evident that they're going to be absorbed in HBO Max. And it's not a bad thing, I would say, at this stage. It all depends on what you want from HBO Max as far as your characters having live action shows. I think they're still going to have the comic service in some capacity, whether it's like a Marvel Unlimited deal. They're going to do something with that. I think we'll hear some more, if I have to make an early ODPH prediction, at DC Fandom in August.
Probably.
I think that's where we're going to hear something. Because at that stage, Doom Patrol will be slowly winding down, if I'm doing my math right as I'm looking at the calendar. And Stargirl will be wrapped up for Season 1 right before DC Fandom kicks off. So all that mixed together, I think we're going to hear an announcement, because the only new project that I have heard is supposed to be coming out is the new season of Young Justice animated. After that, Titan Season 3 was greenlit. I haven't heard anything about that. And then Doom Patrol, we know, is on HBO Max. Stargirl has just been now moved to the CW.
Yeah.
One thing I fear, though, and I was talking with Dre about this, because we always go back and forth on Twitter about that, what happens now with the show? Is it going to hurt it or help it? Honestly, I don't think they're going to have that big of a drop-off. The only thing that I think this show is going to be hurting in is the special effects when it comes to Stripe.
That's what I was thinking is there's a very clear, distinct difference between CW, so the Arrowverse shows, and Stargirl. And that's just in the amount of money they put into special effects alone. I think there'll be a steep drop off in terms of just, I think they'll try to keep it look the same visually, because even though just the way it looks, not even from a special effects perspective, very different between the two. I think they'll try and keep that as close as to what it is now as they can, but I don't think there's any way they'll be able to keep this about, not even just for Stripes, for the show in general. I don't know if they'll be able to keep the same look, because the budget for special effects is just not the same.
Right. That's going to be a very big question mark we're going to have when they finally start showing things for Season 2. And will this impact the show that certain actors are not going to want to be on the CW? Which I hope not. I hope everybody comes back for this one. Because a lot of times when it's not as, I don't want to say as prestigious, you sometimes see that actors may not want to come down, because it's different factors going on. because honestly, I love how this cast has been thus far. Everything about this show has been a home run. And honestly, this week's episode was no different.
Yeah.
I'm going to be talking spoilers, so if you haven't caught up with Stargirl, definitely pause this episode, jump on, binge watch it, get caught up, because I definitely want to have some interaction about this one, because I'm going to start talking spoilers in 3, 2, 1. So what did I think? I thought it was a good episode. There was a couple points that I thought could have been a little better, but overall, another home run for CW.
Okay.
It's going to be weird saying that now. But this was going to be the second part of Shiv's origin. One thing that Stargirl has done very well is when they're introducing characters, they've gone out of their way to give them their own episode, to get their background, you get familiar with their actions, their history, everything. And I think they've done a really nice job explaining everybody thus far.
Mm-hmm.
Even the last week's episode, where they give you enough about certain characters we haven't seen a lot of yet, but enough that you're familiar that when you see them again on screen, you go, okay, I got it.
Mm-hmm.
This one has been Shiv Part 2. It's the story of Cindy, the quote-unquote mean girl of the school. You find out a little bit more about her background that obviously after last week's episode where she nearly killed Stargirl in their first battle and was saved by the Shining Knight, who was not around again, disappeared again, long forgotten hero of the DC JSA universe. This picks up right up where it left off, where you have Pat escaping from the battle with Courtney, who is injured, and says, okay, how do I have to cover this up? Because obviously he can't go, hey, my daughter's a superhero.
Yeah, not exactly the best move.
So he stages a car wreck to get her a reason to go to the hospital. And once this is done, which I thought was very smart on his part, like I say, Luke Wilson has been so good in this role that I don't think enough credit is given to him about what he's pulling off with this. He winds up covering for Courtney to send her to the hospital and contacts her mom because she's out of town with Icicle on a business venture. Mm-hmm. Really does the little things that stand out for this show. Like I said, Breck Bassinger didn't have a lot really at the beginning of this episode, but did pick up later because once they start having the back and forth of, okay, how do I keep explaining this when you get hurt?
Right.
And they have a decision to make. Okay, do we reveal the truth about the JSA to Barbara, played by Amy Smart, or not? And Pat is saying, no, you don't. You don't do anything. Which Courtney is trying to find a different way. And to be that young and explain it too is tough because when you're young, you're not thinking that far in the future. It's just more right in front of your face. And she is just having a difficult time coming to terms with, wait, I can't do what I want. I have this cosmic staff. I think I'm invincible. This is the first time that we really saw her get manhandled, like just completely dominated in a fight,
which will happen eventually.
Yeah, I mean, this is just goes to show the different skill level that she has compared to Cindy, who, like I say, we haven't known too much of her background except her father, who has been long confirmed to be the Dragon King, has not exactly approved of her super villain actions, I guess I should say. And when she goes for approval, saying, "Hey, I took out Stargirl. I can handle the JSA." He is not happy because he says, "You disobeyed me. You were not supposed to do that." And when Cindy is taking this, she's not handling this news well because she is very impatient. She wants to get going in her level of super villainous. Mm-hmm. It's a kind of a weird statement, but if you really think about it, this is all she's trying to do. I mean, Meg DeLacy has been playing Cindy this entire season and has really stepped up her emotions in this one. And what I mean by this is, at the beginning of the show, she was always considered the mean girl, and you didn't really understand the background. But as you start going through, there's something that she has been responsible for the death of her mother that we're kind of getting slow Easter eggs about. That is kind of giving her motivation, and then she's trying to basically get her father's approval, and her father is just not having it. So Cindy is going out of her way to get that approval. Meanwhile, they're also setting up some other plot points down the road, which one thing I thought they did a really good job is they had Icicle confront a chemical company executive and you find out the history of Icicle feels that company is responsible for his wife's death.
Sure.
Which I thought was such a strong moment to Neil Jackson, who's playing Jordan, a.k.a. Icicle, really demonstrated the emotion. Like, you get why he's acting this way, and you almost, I don't want to say sympathize, but you can kind of get an understanding of why he's doing what he's doing, because he feels, okay, you're responsible for what happened. I'm going to make sure this never happens again. Going about it completely in the wrong way, because he does kill him, but he is basically saying that the plan to do, I believe they call it New America.
Oh, okay.
Is going to take over and make sure this doesn't happen again. So it's almost like a Magneto type thing where the ends justify the means.
Right.
So you're kind of getting that vibe with this character, which I love. Like, they're developing him so much that you're understanding him more. And I think that's such a cool thing to do. No pun intended there.
Right.
But it's something that I think when they're really fleshing out why villains do what they do, the ones that you can almost justify,
sure,
you get a little more sense of like a little poetic tragedy, I guess would be the way to describe it. Maybe I'm looking too much into it. I don't know. I still think it was a great moment of the show. Going back, though, to the team, this is where I thought the show, I don't want to say took a step back.
Okay.
But it's something that I need to remind myself of when I watch this. The JSA members decide to go confront Cindy and investigate the house because they have an idea what's going on. And this is where we have yet again Dr. Midnight, played by Angelica Washington, who is doing a great job in her role. I'm not mad at her role at all. Is so socially awkward that when she's trying to rally the team, who is completely upset about obviously what's happened to Courtney and they want revenge, goes, I have a plan. And she goes to Cindy's house.
Oh, boy.
A la the same way that she went to Courtney's house way back when to go investigate. Well, Pat catches up with her just at the door, and there's kind of this wacky hijinks moment where Pat has to say, oh, this is my adopted daughter, and, oh, I'm a friend of Cindy. Well, and, of course, the clone wife, which I'm convinced she's a clone, of the Dragon Lord, invites her in, says, hey, come in, you can wait for Cindy. And that's just kind of like or the Dragon King, rather, I'm sorry. She invites him in. So it's kind of like this weird, awkward moment, but we've seen this before, which I get. It is what it is. But they kind of drug it out a little bit long in this episode. Okay. Because at one point you see Dr. Midnight put on the goggles with Chuck, the AI, and she starts investigating the house. And Pat's like, we need to get out of here. Like, what are you doing? During this entire moment, she's going around the house. She finds the secret entrance to go down to the basement where the Dragon Lord or the Dragon King is working, which is never good.
No.
And luckily she doesn't get caught because I was waiting for her to tip off where Solomon Grundy is.
Oh, yeah.
He's kept underneath there.
Yeah.
And you can see, though, it's like the communication signal is shorted. Meanwhile, back at home, Stargirl is recovering from her injuries, and she gets a visitor. Cindy, where Cindy comes over with candy and is like, oh, I'm so sorry about what happened, and goes through this, frenemy moment until probably the strongest point of the episode, where once they get done, she's like, well, I gotta go. By the way, I know who you are, Stargirl.
Bum, bum, bum.
Bam. Love it. Because obviously that town is so small. You would figure you would be able to understand if a new girl is in town and suddenly you have a superhero fitting the description running around.
Right.
And Cindy says, basically, I know who you are. I'm going to get you last, but I'm going to kill all your friends first.
Bum, bum, bum.
And she takes off to head home, and it's the weird moment where Courtney winds up realizing, well, my actions are now going to have repercussions. She tries texting Wildcat and Hourman, and they're saying, Dr. Midnight's at the house. So they're screaming at her to get out. Obviously so, because, hey, why would you tip yourself off when the one member of the Injustice Society that you've had a run-in with almost kills you? Well, I should say the new Injustice Society, because they planted way too many Easter eggs that there's going to be I don't want to say a teen in Justice Society, but there'll be some kind of variation of them next season. Bank on it. That when Cindy is coming back, Dr. Midnight has to make a dramatic escape, but she is also going through Cindy's bedroom where the goggles are picking up everything and she's doing facial recognition. Now, she did this downstairs, and that's why I say that Cindy's stepmom is a clone, because she couldn't recognize a face, like throughout the entire world database. She does, though, get to a picture on Cindy's mirror. And this one is very, very telling because it is a picture of Cindy's dad, a.k.a. the Dragon King, a.k.a. Dr. Shiro Ito, who we come to find out has got some history with the original Justice Society of America, because once the picture is taken, Pat sees it. Once they make the dramatic escape where Wildcat has to literally grab Dr. Midnight, throw her out the window to Our Man to catch her, and run. Pat sees this and goes, I know who this is. And you see his eyes just go like he's seen a ghost. And he knows that they are in some serious trouble. And it's been very much alluded to that the Dragon King is a scientist that has been doing experiments. That's how you almost figure out that Cindy has a healing factor, because later on we see that Stargirl comes flying through Cindy's bedroom window because she thinks Dr. Midnight's in trouble. They wind up having this wild action scene, which it's a very cool one. And once again, to kind of touch up on what you were saying, Pat, the CGI is going to be hurting when they go to CW for this, because they were doing a lot of stuff with her staff. Sure. Because the staff had been previously spoken to by Pat about, quit dragging Courtney in the situation she can't win. Right. Because it almost has like a Venom symbiotic kind of vibe to it. But the staff winds up helping Courtney when she's screaming at it, hey, my friends are in trouble, they're going to get killed. They wind up having this crazy fight sequence go on, which I thought was completely awesome. And once they start battling and you start seeing Shiv go against Stargirl, it's another knockdown, drag-out fight. But there is a very big X factor that's thrown in. Okay. And one other subplot that they were doing this episode is Brainwave Jr. Henry was going and developing his powers, which they've slowly been tying into the show. And you're seeing, that's why I say they're almost telegraphing that they're going to set up yet again another Injustice Society, but it's going to be a younger version. Right. Either way, you see that Henry has developed his powers. You're seeing him. He winds up unlocking a hidden room that's in his house, and he sees the original Brainwave costume. He starts seeing files, and he winds up seeing one on Cindy, who is saying, "Keep an eye on Henry. Make sure he's developing his powers." And it's basically his whole relationship with her has been a lie. Right. That's been set up by the Dragon King to keep an eye and keep him developed. Like I said, Jake Walker, who's playing Henry, did a very good job about this and trying to obviously deal with everything going on, because how do you wake up and now suddenly you can have telepathy and mental powers that you don't understand or can't control? It's never a good look. No. But he winds up being the X factor in this fight, because where Shiv is ready to kill Stargirl again. And let us face this, he has been she has been completely outmatched and outclassed the entire time. We even see when she comes through the window, broken glass hits Cindy in the face and it just heals. So that's why I say I think that she's been experimented on, even though we haven't been officially told yet. But during this fight, they're going back and forth, they're fighting out in the street, and Henry winds up showing up, and knowing that his whole relationship has been a lie. You can almost say his entire life's been a lie at this stage. We don't know. Right. He winds up unleashing a psionic blast that sends Courtney flying into the road. You see Cindy get thrown into the other direction, where the Dragon King's minions wind up taking her underground, almost like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle style. Okay. Pop the sewer top, grab her, throw her down, and put the top back on, and are gone. And at this stage, too, Henry has now figured out Courtney is Stargirl, because he's reading both of their minds. Where this is going to play in effect, we don't know, because the end of the show, he winds up running away. Ah, okay. And while he's running, the Dragon King is watching. Of course he is. And then they just fade to black. So overall, I thought it was a good episode. Like I say, I think they drug out a little bit too much of the wacky hijinks of Dr. Midnight. Sure. I understand that's her character, so that's why I say I have no problem with how it was portrayed. I just think that the show spent too much time doing the awkward running through the house, looking for clues. They're also trying to do this weird, the clone was hitting on Pat sequence too, and it was a lot at once. I get it though. I don't think it hurt the episode. It was just kind of, for me, I'm like, okay, we can speed this up a little bit. But I thought where they really had strong points, I thought when they delved into Icicle's backstory a little bit, like I said, he wasn't on screen that much, but he was on just enough. I thought they really did some good stuff there. I thought how they did the Shiv bombshell that I know who you are, Courtney. I thought that really sped things up where they needed to be, and I'm excited to see where they go with that. I am really excited about the fight scenes. Like, the fight sequences they've had have been very good thus far. I know a lot of it is relied on CGI with Courtney's staff, so where that's going to go for next season is anybody's guess. But then again, Arrow has always been known to pull off crazy sequences. So
yeah, they did a few.
I imagine they're probably going to have the same team maybe get involved with them if they're going to make the transition. There's so many unanswered questions that we're going to have that we're not going to be able to answer until next season. But for right now, Stargirl has been such a happy surprise, at least for me, because I was thinking the show was going to be okay. It's clearly a home run every time I watch. There's a lot that you can really just enjoy about this, because even though, like I say, I do get very critical about the wacky hijinks, it's still at its heart a retro superhero show. That you're going to see that kind of, like I say, I don't want to say corny, but you're going to see that kind of wacky hijinks, and I keep referring to that because that's just what it reminded me of. Like, very predictable, very cliche. Even when Pat was having the talk with the staff, it felt cliche. But it wasn't enough to really deter the episode. Like, I still think it was strong enough to carry, because the moments they hit on, they really did a good job with. So with 5 more episodes left in the season, they still have got a big battle coming up with the Injustice Society. I'm wondering if we don't see another member or two get added to the JSA.
Maybe.
I'm almost wondering if Courtney's little stepbrother is going to get added too. There was like a quick sequence where he apologized for his actions, so they almost retconned all the forced drama from last week. But it's going to be anybody's guess to see where they wind up in August, but I'm definitely excited and tuned in to watch. Let us know what you think, though. Hit us up on that hashtag ODPH. What was your thoughts about this past week's episode of Stargirl? Where do you think the show is going? Let's have that conversation. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
From the galactic depths of the comic book universe comes the ghosts of the stratosphere, ready to galvanize and energize your mind with the latest of comic book news and reviews. And why are you stopping me? Yes, that's much better. Hi, this is Andy Larson for Ghosts of the Stratosphere. Join me every week along with my co-hosts Rob Stewart and Chad Smith, as well as a cavalcade of fantastic comic book guests, as we dish out heaping helpings of the greatest and latest of comic book news and reviews. New shows posted every Tuesday with bonus shows every first Friday of the month. You can find us on iTunes and Stitcher under Ghosts of the Stratosphere, as well as on our website, www.gotstratosphere.com. Hope to see you soon, folks.
Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking movies, TV, comics, and more. Join in the conversation on our social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go. Coming back for the final segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast. A lot of one-shots to go through, so definitely we'll close out strong with that. And I'm going to kick off because Pat has got a ton of them to go through.
Yup.
So for me, I keep talking about Doom Patrol. It has been great coming out of the gate. Season 2 has been very strong. If you're into Grant Morrison writing and Gerard Way, this is definitely the show to be watching because it definitely adapts a lot to it. I won't go into a lot of spoilers because I know a lot of people are catching up to it over the weekend because obviously with 4th of July just happening, and hopefully everybody had a safe and healthy one. Know that a lot of fans are catching up, so I don't want to spoil too much. But I will say this. This captured a lot of that weird, crazy quirkiness. And Pat, because I know you don't watch the show.
No.
So if I said Flex Mentalito, Sex Men, and Danny the Street turned into Danny the Tire, What does that say to you?
I have no idea.
Exactly. So I'm just going to say it was absolutely, as weird as that sounds, but it was great. Another strong performance all around from the Doom Patrol cast. And definitely they gave a lot of time to develop Elastigirl's powers, though. And I'm trying to really focus on that. Like, that's been an underlying plot this season with, I should say Elastigirl, but April Bowie's been playing this very well, and like I said, she's really been stepping her game up about this, and they've been really trying to make her into the hero that she wants to be, and you're seeing a lot of growth. Even though like how they were going about this was kind of a little crazy in its own sense too, because the major focus this entire season has been on the Chief's daughter Dorothy, and that she could have the powers to end the world, and you're seeing a lot of back and forth what Niles Calder is doing, and how this is ultimately working against him in his favor. Like everything he's doing has not been good. And you can see from even when he formed the team. I mean, Timothy Dalton has definitely been eating up scenery with his portrayal, and definitely has stepped up and really grown into the role of the Chief. And you're seeing the Chief a lot more this season, because last season he was captured by Mr. Nobody. You didn't see him for a lot of the time. But this season you really definitely see him up. And like I said, between Bowlby's performance as Rita, you're seeing those two characters really shine too. Matt Bomer's been amazing too as a Negative Man. So you're seeing everybody really get some time to develop. And I really like that this season, because they have really stepped into the roles, and they've really embraced the weirdness that is Doom Patrol. Like I say, Danny the Street has always been a great character, and to see the evolution of that one, and you're seeing also the history between Danny and the Chief come to light, and what happens there. And the Sex Men are as weird and awkward as that sounds. So I'm just going to leave it at that. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. Season 2 just started, 4 episodes in. It's very much worth the while. Highest possible recommendation. If you like something that's definitely not the traditional superhero story, Doom Patrol is where it's at. Cannot recommend it enough. It's on HBO Max and DC Universe, so go check it out. And hit me up on social media. Let me know what you think of the season thus far at OD Parlay Hour on Twitter and Instagram. So, Pad, I'm going to hand you the mic. Take it home.
All right, so a couple of things to talk about, one of which got announced this morning. One of my favorite shows on Netflix, The Last Kingdom, has been renewed for a 5th season.
Okay.
It is Season 4 debuted on April 26th, and it was announced this morning that Season 5 will consist of 10 episodes as the previous 2 seasons did, which I think is good. They were very concise and very good, and I would say Season 4 was their best season yet. For those not familiar, the series is based on the Saxon Stories novels by Bernard Cornwell. It follows the adventures of Uhtred of Bebbanburg, played by Alexander Draymond, a warrior born a Saxon but raised a Dane in the 9th and 10th century England. Uhtred becomes an unlikely ally of King Alfred of Wessex, played by David Dawson, and his family, as the king seeks to unite all the kingdoms of England under one ruler, despite the fact that Vikings are absolutely ravaging the country. It's a great series. It's a lot of fun. I'd say if you like Game of Thrones, it's kind of in that same vein. Okay. Not necessarily so much backstabbing and family mess and all that, but it's still kind of in that same vein. One of the executive producers said, we are, quote, "We are really proud of The Last Kingdom, which continues to entertain audiences all over the world. We had such a tremendous response to the last season, so we are thrilled to be bringing it back for season 5 on Netflix. With such a loyal fan base, we're excited to give viewers a chance to follow Uhtred on the next stage of his quest," close quote. If you're familiar with what happened last season, yeah, they kind of got to follow that up. They're a bit of a cliffhanger, a bit of a, oh my God, where are they going from here? Definitely recommend you check it out if you haven't. And who knows when we're going to see it. I know between season 3 and season 4, it took a bit for them to get the season done, just because they go, it's kind of like a Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones thing. They're very exotic locations, and it's not exactly locations you set up in a sound studio.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see when they get that up and going, and hopefully it's not too far in the future.
Yeah, I know you've been big on the show.
Oh yeah.
So
yep. A couple updates to stuff we mentioned in the last couple episodes. Of course, Hamilton came out on Disney Plus over the weekend.
Rave reviews, and also according to reports, the Disney Plus app was downloaded. Downloads were up 74% over the weekend. Wow.
So, yeah, a lot of people going to Disney Plus to check out Hamilton, although I do know it was announced by the Academy, the folks who run the Academy Awards, that Hamilton is not eligible for an Oscar, which, okay, I get. Makes sense. Also an update, couple weeks ago, I talked about Warner Brothers Interactive. That's the video game studio behind a whole bunch of games possibly being sold. Apparently, we got some interested takers. You have folks such as EA Games, Activision, and Take-Two. Studios are all interested in buying the studios along with Xbox. So that'd be a lot of floating around, a lot of names getting thrown around. Nothing firm, nothing concrete. It's a lot of moving parts to get it done. So stay tuned for more information if and when it gets sold.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, some more interesting video game news. There's an interesting one coming out. I want to say it's next week. Yes, next week. From the folks over at Sucker Punch Studios, of course, makers of the Infamous series, among very many other games. Call it for PlayStation 4, called Ghost of Tsushima. Samurai video game, looks really good. Might check it out at some point myself. This one caught my eye though. Being it's a samurai video game, they were obviously inspired by the Akira Kurosawa samurai films.
Okay.
From back in the day. Apparently there is a cinematic mode in the game where they worked with Akira Kurosawa's estate to put it in the game, so you can make it look and sound and feel like you're in an actual old school samurai movie.
That's very dope.
Yeah, so it says in the article on entertainmentweekly.com, at the end of the article, for final touches, the team added a film grain to make the mode appear as though it just emerged from the age of Kurosawa, as well as an increased wind function. In Ghost of Tsushima, the wind serves as the player's navigational tool. The main character actually follows the wind to find his next destination. In Kurosawa mode, the wind is cranked up. And lastly, we toyed with the audio a little. Our audio team have an internal tool that mimics sounds of old TV and specifically megaphones, radios, TVs back in the 50s. It all makes for a game with a feel of a theatrical entertainment. So that was definitely something I'm like, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, no, it definitely sounds. I mean, you don't hear too much about that style in game, so definitely interested about that one.
No, and I know Tom from Off the Cuff Gaming still been playing Final Fantasy VII Remake. We got a bit of an update on Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2. Because everyone, myself included, is wondering when that thing's going to come out. Recently, in an interview with the Guardian co-director, one of the co-directors and one of the producers said that the development has been affected by the C-19 pandemic, but it shouldn't have a big impact because everyone's working from home on it. Obviously, didn't give a release date, but yeah. A little bit of news is better than no news.
Yeah, I'd say just any updates there. Could mean how much the fan base is waiting on that one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, interesting casting news. In Disney, of course, in their live-action adaptation of everything they've ever done, is working on a Peter Pan movie, which, okay, could be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we've already had that a couple times. I mean, I know we had Hook way back when with the late Robin Williams.
Yep. But apparently for this one, Jude Law is in talks to play Captain Hook in the live-action adaptation. So,
interesting.
He'd be good.
He'd be good.
That'd be good. No word on who's going to play Peter Pan or Wendy or anybody else from that film, but that one caught my eye. I was like, oh, that's interesting. It was announced by Amazon and the studios that be last week that Amazon Studios is going to be putting out a Fallout TV series from the Westworld creators Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy serving as producers. Of course, Fallout, the famous video game series from the folks over at Bethesda Studios. This one surprised me and also didn't surprise me. Surprised me because, I was like, wow, I didn't see this coming. Also didn't surprise me just because you look at what it's about, post-apocalyptic, real bad place. On the surface, if you do it right with the right folks and you look at the body of work from Westworld, should be an amazing series.
I mean, I know that I have not played Fallout.
I played a bit. I haven't played all of them, but I played a bit.
Yeah, I know it's got a big fan base. So anytime it comes to the small screen or big screen, there's going to be a lot of eyes on it.
Yeah.
But with the Westworld production company on it, you have to be a little more optimistic, I think. Yeah,
and Bethesda, one of the heads of Bethesda Game Studios, will be involved with the development of the show, and series director series director Todd Howard will serve as executive producer of the show, saying, quote, and it was the producers of Westworld said, quote, Fallout is one of the greatest game series of all time. Each chapter of this insanely imaginative story has cost us countless hours we could have spent with family and friends. So we're incredibly excited to partner with Todd Howard and the rest of the brilliant lunatics at Bethesda to bring this massive, subversive, and darkly funny universe to life with Amazon Studios. So definitely something to keep your eye out on. It should be good.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah. Sticking with some video game news, it was announced that Breaking Bad's Giancarlo Esposito is going to be in a video game. He was like, I can't say which. It's gonna be a big AAA video game. So that kind of led speculation like, all right, which one's it going to be? Looks like we found out it is going to be the next Far Cry game, Far Cry 6. Very popular game. I haven't played much of them. I played a bit here and there of some of them. But knowing Giancarlo Esposito, he kind of tends to play one type of person in media, that being the villain.
Mm-hmm.
So if he plays the villain, I might actually have to pick up Far Cry 6. Because that's going to be nuts.
Yeah, that definitely sounds very cool to check out.
Yeah, and then we might have a sequel to Ready Player One coming down the road.
Really?
Although not anything immediately. It was announced today that the sequel to Ready Player One is going to be published this November. The book, aptly titled Ready Player Two, will debut November 24th from author Ernest Cline. Is stepping back into the Oasis, and with the long-awaited sequel Ready Player 2, it will be launching November 24th in North America. Of course, the movie Ready Player 1 was released in 2011 and was a hit. Or the book was released in 2011, not the movie, and was a hit in the publishing world, and it was over 100 weeks on the New York Times best-selling list, and of course, had the film adaptation from Steven Spielberg. So definitely something to check out. I would imagine, based off of how well Ready Player 1 did, that if this does just as well, I would imagine we get a Ready Player 2 movie.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that happening either. I remember that movie was very split, though. Like, a lot of people liked it, a lot of people didn't.
All right. Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, I never got around to see it, but I know you were talking about that. So I have to wait and see on that one. So for closing out, a little more update about San Diego Comic-Con, Comic-Con from home.
Yeah.
Just to follow up, we mentioned about last week. We're trying to get a little more update. It's heavily rumored Marvel Studios is not going to be in attendance this year. So no Marvel Studios, no DC. We know the DC is doing Fandom.
Right, and I do know I read in a couple of places that on YouTube, panels that have aired will be put onto YouTube, although with some instances, they didn't say what, some instances because of what they're talking about or who they're talking about or whatever the case may be, the panel might not be there the whole time. So, for permanently. So some will be there permanently, but some of them, because of whatever agreement they have or something behind the scenes, it won't be up there the whole time. So definitely, I'm sure when they announce the YouTube channel, or if they have a YouTube channel now, subscribe to it, turn on the little notification bell. That way you'll know when stuff gets posted.
Yeah, absolutely. Wherever con that you definitely want to go check out and support, just hit their YouTube page and just subscribe.
Yeah.
So that way you don't miss anything. Because with the bigger cons, like such as San Diego, New York, there's stuff on there all the time. So you definitely don't want to miss anything.
Yeah.
So with some of the new panels that we're just following up about?
Yeah, so of course we mentioned the Disney Plus Marvel 616 panel a couple of weeks ago. Some of the other panels that got announced on Thursday, July 23rd at 4 p.m. Pacific time. Check your local time zones for whatever time that is in your area. You have the Marvel HQ, which reads, this is off the Marvel.com website. This is the destination for all our young Marvel fans and their families. Check out everything Marvel HQ has to offer about your favorite superheroes, with a comics read-along and an epic Lego battle, and a behind-the-scenes look at our animated series, Marvel Spider-Man Maximum Velocity. And grab some paper and a crayon, because we're going to draw that symbiote baddie together in Marvel Draw. Visit Marvel HQ at youtube.com/MarvelHQ.
Interesting.
Yeah. The other one they announced is Marvel Comics' Next Big Thing, which is Friday, July 24th at 11 a.m. Pacific time, which reads, quote, join Marvel Editor-in-Chief C.B. Cebulski as he breaks down all the latest and greatest coming from the House of Ideas with some of Marvel's most epic creators. Tom Brevoort, Al Ewing, and Dan Slott will dive into the cosmic calamity coming to Earth's mightiest heroes in the pages of Empire. An army is gathering in the latest X-Men crossover event, X of Swords, and Jordan White, Tiny Howard, and Gary Dugan have all the juicy details. Nick Lowe, Nick Spencer, and Mark Bagley will discuss the landmark Amazing Spider-Man number 850, ushering in the return of the Green Goblin. Plus, Nick Lowe rejoins the panel to discuss the return of classic Marvel character Werewolf by Night with creators Taboo and Ben Jackendoff. Be there, true believers.
Okay, so that one, I've been to the Next Big Thing panel before down in New York.
Was that the one we almost got kicked out of? Where I almost got
You almost got us kicked out of the Dawn of X panel.
Oh, that was it.
Oh, that was the one. Yes.
Yeah, that was it.
You can go through the Twitter lineage for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I almost said your friend was on the panel there.
Yeah.
But no, but in all honesty, no, this is one that they show all the new characters that are new books that are coming out for the next year. It's like I say, it's the next big thing for a reason.
Yeah,
and I can't stress that enough, because the one thing that you get with this panel is you get the big crossover events. You get a small idea of what's going on with them. And to recap, Empire is the big cosmic story they're pushing in Avengers and throughout there. This was going to be the spin-off from Incoming, I believe, because it was kind of a lackluster murder mystery that they were saying was going to change the Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
But this one, I think, is going to play into maybe the next direction of the MCU a little bit more.
Maybe.
I just have that sense because where things left off with like Captain Marvel, for example.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but I'm saying that's going to be something you want to definitely check out. 10 of Swords is the big X-Men event.
Yeah.
Only thing I've seen about that is some wild promotional art with all the X-Men having swords of some sort.
All right.
I don't have
Knights
any...
of the Round Table.
No, I think that's what it's supposed to be like.
No.
Like I remember they mentioned at C2E2 very quickly about it, but to be honest with you, I haven't heard that much about it since. And I think maybe because with everything going on with COVID, it's fallen by the wayside.
Yeah.
But this one, I am personally interested with because since the X universe has come back from Dawn of X, we haven't seen that type of big crossover.
Let's say it's been kind of status quo.
Yeah, it's been kind of status quo, which they need to. I mean, you don't want to go completely crazy doing crossovers. Every book has to, find its voice. And I know that they have the second wave coming out. I know there's a new X Factor book coming out, which I have mixed opinions on. I like the team lineup just really wasn't enticing me that much, but I'm still going to give it a shot reading.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it's going to play into that. But how they do the swords, like I just remember seeing that promotional art. I'm like, okay, I have no idea what's going on. But they have put so much energy back into the X-Men line. I am going to read it.
Yeah.
Because I am not doubting anything they're doing right now. So I'm excited about that. The Werewolf by Night, though, I think that's a very interesting project that they're re-releasing.
Okay.
Do you know why, Pat?
No.
Werewolf by Night has a lot of ties to Moon Knight.
Okay.
They're doing a Moon Knight TV show.
That's correct.
On Disney+.
That's correct.
I know that there's been long rumored about a Ghost Rider project coming out. And you hear the word Midnight Suns. I know it's 2 words. But you hear Midnight Suns get mentioned a lot for the MCU. If you have a comic out that's coming and you're starting to generate a little buzz about it, what's to say we're not going to see Werewolf by Night in the Moon Knight show?
That would make a lot of sense.
That's the way I read that.
Yeah.
And then Amazing Spider-Man 850.
That's insane. Who would have thought?
I will tell you this. I had no idea. Like, just with how they've renumbered everything over the years, you wind up losing track a lot.
Yeah.
But 850, they're going to go completely crazy with. And Mark Bagley's back along with Nick Spencer, from what you were saying.
Yep.
That's going to be a nice tandem to bring that issue in. The return of Norman Osborn.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, because, I mean, I don't think...
Can they make him Ultimate Green Goblin? Because that version's a lot better than their normal version.
Never say...
Just saying.
Never say never, because I believe the last time we saw him, and please correct me if I'm wrong, was the Red Goblin storyline that...
I think so.
Was it Dan Slott's final run, I think?
I think so, yeah.
If memory serves me right. They get for me, that's a heavy hitter panel for San Diego Comic-Con. So I'm definitely going to be locked and loaded for that one.
Yeah, no, also interesting Marvel news that I just noticed, and I forgot to mention it. Marvel Comics is going to be the new publisher for Alien and Predator comic books. Now, don't think this has anything to do with the movies.
No.
It's just strictly comics because in the last couple of years, the last decade or so, Dark Horse, I believe, has been the publisher of the Marvel Alien and Predator comic books. However, it was announced last week that Marvel is going to be the new publisher for Alien, Predator, and Alien vs. Predator. Hopefully it's better than the movie.
Yeah.
We'll be launching all new stories with Marvel Comics in 2021. So that'll be definitely something to check out. C.B. Cebulski said, quote, "There's nothing more thrilling than a story that will keep you at the edge of your seat, and Alien and Predator have delivered that time and time again. I can clearly remember where I was when I saw each of these modern masterpieces for the first time, and reveling in how both masterfully weave extraterrestrial dread and drama into some of the most iconic scenes we've ever seen on film. And it's that legacy that we're going to live up to. Marvel editor Jake Thomas said, quote, The incredible legacies of both franchises offer some of the most compelling and exciting world building in all of science fiction. It's a thrill and honor to be able to add to that mythology and continuity with all new stories set within those universes, close quote. So that'll be definitely something to check out. Who knows? Maybe we'll get an Alien versus Avengers book down the road. You never know.
Well, you have to look at when they've done crossovers in the past. I know when Dark Horse had the properties, we had Batman vs. Predator. That was really good. The sequel, debatable.
Yeah.
I know they also crossed over with Valiant way back when Valiant had the rights to Solar and Magnus Robot Fighter. So it's going to be interesting to see if they want to put Predator and Alien in the comic MCU, kind of like what they do with Conan.
No, it'll be interesting. I mean, there is a couple of teaser art pieces on the Marvel.com article. The first of which is an alien, kind of a promotional piece of the Alien. It's a standard looking thing, an alien on a spaceship looking like he's ready to rip somebody apart. And then you scroll down a little bit, and then you see the head of the Predator, and then you see what he's holding.
Yeah, he's holding Tony Stark's head.
Holding Tony Stark's head with part of his spine coming out.
Yep.
And he's standing on the Avengers Tower. So, Avengers versus Predator?
I'm okay with that.
Sign me up.
I'm fully on board. You know what I would like to see, but I don't know if they would do it? Punisher versus Predator.
I need that.
Yeah.
Please, somebody make that happen.
I'd be very, very stoked about seeing that. There's so many possibilities they can run with it. And it'll be interesting, like I say, if they try to absorb those two franchises into the 616 universe.
Yeah.
And where they want to go with that.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's tricky, because if you put them in big events,
and
then you lose the rights to them or you let it go, whatever down the road, it's tough to explain. I mean, it's not out of the realm of thought, though. And I think they should. It's like involve them in there. Because if you don't and you keep them separate, I mean, there is a fan base for it, but there's so many endless stories you could tell. I definitely want to see. Like now, I'm thinking that Punisher story. Now I'm hooked on that. So gotta make that happen.
Yeah, we do.
Oh, so many things. San Diego Comic-Con is coming. I know it's from home too, but I don't mind. I'm still getting excited for that.
Yeah.
I know we'll be doing our preview episode for that in a couple weeks, so can't wait to hear some more stories on that. DC Fandom's going to be in August. A lot of stuff rumored about that right now, which I'm going to say just temper your expectations right now of what you're hearing is rumored, because as far as I know, I have not seen a lot of facts. I know there's just so much speculation going on right now that we don't know. I mean, those are the two big cons coming up. I know RoberCon is coming up for us here locally in September. That's going to be virtual.
Yep.
No official word yet about New York Comic-Con.
So the only thing we got is when we had applied for press badges, we got an email the other day saying the deadline to apply for press badges was extended to the end of July, and that we'd hear something at least by that point, if not a little bit after. So I haven't heard anything other than that.
Yeah, I mean, I at this stage, unfortunately, I'm not holding my breath.
No.
Obviously, with
everything going on with C-19 and the situation with the state of New York and traveling into New York, and I can't imagine. And you really think about it. As much as I would like to go, I don't think it'll happen, because anyone who's been to any comic convention will know, and especially those of you who've been to New York Comic Con will know. The recommendation is to be distant, no more than 6 feet apart, and you think of waiting in those lines just to get your badge swiped to get into the main stage. That's not exactly 6 feet apart. And then you think about it on the show floor where everyone's selling it stuff and showing stuff off, and you can demo video games, and how crowded that gets. And I can't imagine that any actor, actress, or voice actor or voice actors will want to come in and do autographs and photos and stuff. I just don't think it's going to happen.
No, unfortunately, I don't think so. I think they're going to be borrowing a lot from what San Diego's going to do.
Yeah. I
fully envision that, because, I mean, Dragon Con was canceled down in Atlanta.
Yep.
I just, as much as...
I think, and I could be wrong, out of the major Comic-Cons, I think New York is the last one.
Yeah, New York is the last big one.
Yeah.
Which... I mean, a lot of different factors going into it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, like I said, I'm not holding my breath, but we keep checking our email every day, and as soon as we hear something, we'll let you guys know. And who knows? I mean, but at this stage, I'm already kind of gearing up. Okay, we'll just get locked and loaded for 2021. Hopefully by then, cons will be running again too. And I will say the year off will definitely make the excitement build just a little bit more, because they're going to do it. And then, I mean, hopefully we're at a better stage with COVID that we'll be able to enjoy it.
Yeah.
So, have to stay tuned for that.
Yes.
So all that being said, the music you heard on this episode is that of Shout at the Robots. They have some great music you need to check out. Where do you go check that out? OchoDuroPolyHour.com and head over to the music section. You can check out everything going on with Shout, Fair City Fire, Floodland, Second Suitor, Yard Party. The list goes on and on and on. You can definitely check out all those bands, their Bandcamp page, their social medias, get familiar with them. They're great people. You can also check out the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour directory, otherwise known as the ODPH directory. See, sometimes I mumble my words, but I still make it come out right, Pat. I don't know how I do this. Anyway, the ODPH directory, you can find links to Tom from Off the Cuff Gaming, who's still playing that Final Fantasy VII remake, Pat.
Okay.
Still apologizing for Ratchet and Clank.
Uh-huh.
And still not falling to your wayside there.
Nope.
So you definitely shout a line to Tom, tell him to step his game up for Pad, getting the good graces again. And you can also check out everything going on with Excite Wrestling. You can check out organizational links that are supporting Black Lives Matters, voter registration, and all the amazing pod groups that we are in, their Podchaser pages. So shout out to Pod Nation, shout out to Legion Independent Podcast, shout out to hashtag 607 Podcast, shout out to Alternate Reality Radio, and shout out to the aPODalypse community who just did their first pod raid as we're recording this week. Very successful one for Capes on the Couch. Definitely go check that podcast out. You can find information on that podcast and our sports podcast liner notes.
It's also in this week's episode. Notes.
Excellent. See, Pad, he's the production guy for a reason. He's on top of this stuff.
Uh-huh.
So definitely go check those podcasts out. Drop them a like on the Podchaser page. It does help. Any 5-star reviews you can leave too would be greatly appreciated for whatever podcast you do, because it does help the algorithm for people to find the show and keep us going and keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
It's all a win-win. And also have to give a shout out to 8122 Productions too, because we will be live tweeting this Saturday night on twitch.tv/607 podcast. We're going to be live tweeting UFC 251.
All right.
So you never know who's going to stop by. It's going to be a great time. We're going to be giving you our instant reaction to the fights. I know we're talking comics, movies, and TV here, but if you still want to pop in, talk a little comic stuff too, we always will be talking in between fights.
Yeah.
So,
or maybe the fight's so boring you would rather talk about anything else.
Exactly. We always leave it open to the chat. It's been growing by the numbers each and every time. So make sure to drop that follow, sub if you'd like, hashtag 607 podcast, and you can find us all on twitch.tv/607 podcast. The link is right on the front page of OchoDuroParlayHour.com. Everything you need that is ODPH is right there, OchoDuroParlayHour.com. That's all I got for this week. So for the one and only Padawan J,
42 days, still no app for HBO Max on Roku or Amazon Fire.
I'm your host, Ken. Thank you as always for listening to the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. See you next time.